Welcome to the People's Choice Award podcast, brought to you in partnership with Tier 1 People and Fintech Australia. The Finnies, Australia's largest and most prestigious fintech awards, are fast approaching, and we want you to be part of it. Sponsored by the Victorian Government and major partners Vocus and SwiftX, the Finnies are a chance to celebrate the amazing people, incredible innovations, and remarkable resilience that the fintech industry is known for and built upon. Fintech Organisation of the Year Award is sponsored by Vocus. Thank you, Vocus, for your support in making the Finnies a reality. We look forward to seeing everyone on the 9th of June in Melbourne, and don't forget to make your vote in the People's Choice Awards. We're joined by Christian Westerlund-Wigstrom of Monoova and their finalists in Fintech Organisation of the Year. Christian, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dexter.
So you're an old hand at this now. This must be your third time we've done a podcast together.
I know. I don't know what I should say. It feels like more or less. I mean, it still has the novelty thrill to it.
Awesome. Well, we're going to be talking about Monoova today, and I think the outstanding work that you've done over this last 12 months, you and the team. But before we go into that, could you tell our listeners a little bit about Monoova, who you are and what you do?
Yeah, of course. Monoova is a payments automation business. We're based in Sydney, and we service businesses in Australia with ways of receiving, managing, and paying funds, all done through APIs. We've had a very, very heavy focus on doing stuff real time. So becoming an identified institution with the MTP was really important to us. And I think we were, I think we were number 2 or something that was not a bank and but a payments provider. We are right now working on the Pay 2 transactions, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. The old mandated payment service has changed the name, and it's a fascinating space to be in. Payments, as I'm sure most would agree at this point, are tremendously boring from the outside, but as soon as you come into it, it has so many touch points. And what's exciting about working with something like that is that it really it can impact in so many different ways our everyday experiences, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it super, super easy for businesses to manage complex flows.
Cool. So who typically would your customers be?
Our clients are all technology-driven platforms of one form or another. Just the kind of the people behind our clients, or the people who are leading those businesses, are people who probably wake up in the morning and they're annoyed that they can't automate how they're having their flakes. These are people who are tech first, automate first, and let people do stuff that only people can do. And so amongst those clients, you find some really, as you can imagine, cool and pioneering names. Formerly TransferWise, now Wise, is one of our many favorite clients. We're also working with sort of local homegrown success stories, Jacaranda Finance, and there's, I can think of a number of them. DiviPay is, of course, another one, which is a corporate expense management app. We also have a number of other companies in, for instance, in digital currency exchanges, and we're working with Neum, so Instarem, and a few others. So what they all have in common is that at heart they have very, very large flows of transactions that need managed very quickly and securely, and being sort of real time in the way that they could otherwise be serviced is not really enough. Getting real time into your banking portal isn't really the full service. You need real time into your ERP, into your system. You need to know in real time when you get something in real time. Otherwise, it might as well not be. And then when you get it there, you need to be able to reconcile immediately. Otherwise, again, if it takes you 15 minutes to find out what this real time transaction was for, then again, it might as well just be a batch transaction. But what's exciting about all of them is that they're all pushing the envelope in lots of different types of industries. So we're not servicing a particular industry sort of exclusively by any stretch of imagination. The problem of payments being complicated is not unique to any one line of business. It's something that you find everywhere as soon as you get to a certain scale and certain ambition.
Fantastic. So what were the origins of Monoova?
So Monoova is a fully owned group member of Moneytech Group. Moneytech Group was founded in 2003 by a man called Hugh Evans, who's still managing director of the group. Moneytech is primarily and historically was exclusively a business lending company that over time also added a foreign exchange arm to it. That's still happening. Moneytech exists under its own brand, doing exactly that, servicing businesses in Australia with trade and debtor finance and foreign exchange solutions. Monoova came out as a sort of offshoot of this, where it was realized that if I'm sending money, if I'm paying one party using my funds on behalf of a third party, well, then I'm lending someone money. If I'm paying one party with the third party's money, then I'm just facilitating a transaction. And so there was a sense that lending and paying are deeply intertwined and very closely connected. And in 2016, funds were raised where at least part of the reason for going out to the market was that this idea of a payments company had reached a slightly sort of more concrete form, and we wanted to build something that could stand on its own feet and have its own proper team and ambition behind it. That was the very early days of what was at that point called Moneytech Payments. That was in January or December 16, January 17. And that's when I joined. I sort of brought on to build this payments company within Moneytech Group. About 2.5 years later, so by August 19, we had decided that the brand Moneytech Payments was something that we wanted to evolve, and we changed our trading name into Monoova.
Remember that well? It was Intersect 2019.
Correct, and that was a good party.
Yeah, I remember. Drinks.
All of Intersect was a great party, but the party at the end of Intersect was also a great party. Exactly. That was sort of our coming out event, Intersect 19, and obviously that's at the point that we are recording this. That's still the most recent Intersect, and we can't wait to get to the next one in a few weeks here. And what we had understood was that our client base was quite distinct from that of our sister companies in Moneytech, and the business that we had spent 2.5 years building was catering to a slightly just different group of people and companies, and we wanted to be very, very clear what we're doing. But under the Monoova banner, which is very much feels like its own, we've come a long way, and the last whatever it is now, maybe 20 months or something, since August 19 have been momentous for us. And the last 12 months in particular have really seen a lot of change, most of it really very exciting.
I'm always at the Monoova drinks, 6 weeks back, I think. And yeah, it was kind of really quite mind-blowing to see the types of businesses that you're supporting, how diverse they are, but how they're at the cutting edge of innovation as well. So what's the role that Monoova's been playing in kind of bringing along the ecosystem and driving innovation and supporting, some of these very, very, very fresh, very new businesses and actually becoming real businesses?
For us, the problem that we're solving, again, that payments are complicated and frankly not generally the sole reason or even a reason at all why people come to work, has meant that we have a very natural affinity to fellow fintechers, and we've been servicing a lot of our own community members essentially. And the reason for that is that while a lot of us obviously have payments somewhere in our system, it's part of either just selling a service, or maybe we're building some really cool new remittance platform, or as I said, digital currency, or wealth management, or personal lending. Like all of these things are core markers of the success stories of the Australian fintech community. very few of these businesses are actually in the business of payments. Payments is something that happens. It has to be something that works in the background, something that you can outsource to someone else. Just like, as I always keep on saying, you're not building your own office furniture, you're not, I don't know, building your own email server. You get others to do those things so that you can get on with the things that you actually care about. And that has been the role that we're playing. We're back-end payments solutions provider to a large number of fintechs. And among the people that you will have met at our fun party in Barangaroo a few weeks ago are really some cutting-edge thinkers who have great ideas for how they can make an impact in their particular customer segments. And where we come in is in one of two ways. Either it is helping them deliver an even better product by making the payment something that is just super smooth. And so in that sense, it's quite client, as a customer facing. Their customers don't necessarily know it's us. In fact, very rarely do they know that we are part of the story. But it just makes our client's product more seamless.
Yeah.
And another way that it can work is that we are supporting treasury management teams behind the scenes. That's generally for a slightly larger group of companies, though, where what we're doing is helping them internally in a way that's smooth and real time. I should say that all this growth has not come without challenges, and some of the people that might be listening to this in a few weeks' time will remember, every once in a while where there have been some particularly challenging days where our volume has gone up so much. We're about 18 times bigger now than we were this time last year.
In terms of volume?
In terms of volume and revenue. And so if you're growing 18x on a monthly numbers, then we had some pretty...
What made you pick 18x instead of 10x, Christian?
Well, it was 18. It is 18. And look, we set out to have...
That's the best question I've ever asked on this podcast.
And I don't even have a good answer. How very disappointing. I wish I had a brilliant comeback. But
I just think it was such a brilliant question, right? Is how could you come back from that?
Well, I think I am just baffled, and I'm thinking if ever we get nominated again for the Fintech for the Finnies Awards, obviously I need to have an answer to that one. So please ask me again. Yeah. But anyway, it just means we had some rather bolshy ambitions for this year. I think we were looking at 5x or something. But when it's then quite a bit more than that, there's been a lot of load on our systems and processes, and we're working through it all at quite some speed. And I think in the same way that I feel that we have been playing an important role in making particularly real-time payments accessible and useful to a wider fintech community in Australia, the fintech community has absolutely been incredibly supportive of us too, and it's something that I really want to make sure that I state. We are getting our best feedback, whether it's the worst or the best, or the most critical or the most lauding one. We're getting that from our fintech clients, who are often themselves developers, people who are building stuff, who are facing issues when sometimes they are scaling very quickly. So we feel it's a very close and natural and obvious relationship between us and our clients. Again, we're often in a similar type of stage as them. So working with our fellow fintechers has really been an absolute pleasure, and it's fun. I couldn't be in a better community.
Now, I want to kind of expand on that, because we talked about the drinks, and I think one of the things that I really love about catching up at Monoova Drinks is just how nice the people are that work at Monoova. I mean, they're just, stand up. They're, nicest, good fun, great conversationalists. It was great to be at those drinks the other night. What have you done? And I think that's a reflection, on your leadership and your ability to bring great people into the business, Christian. But what would you say, the things that you focused on to be able to bring in that caliber of talent and just a really good bunch of people?
I wish I could say it was all incredibly engineered and targeted. I think there is probably a little bit more intuition than one ultimately can scale with. But what has been absolutely critical for me in building the team that is now Monoova has been obviously the usual stuff: attitude, willingness, and ability, of course, to learn. Having people with you that you feel are going to support you when things are difficult as much as when things are going really, really well. But I think maybe the one characteristic that I keep coming back to, and it will sound, crystals kumbaya, but I really value empathy. It's not the only thing you need, of course not. Someone who's extremely empathetic but absolutely clueless might still not be someone you want to hire. But if you get someone who has all these other things and they're empathetic, then I think you've come an extremely long way. And chances are you found a perfect fit. So by empathy here, I mean someone who instinctively thinks about what the person you're dealing with on the other side could be expecting or should be expecting. And again, if you were them, what would you want? And in every type of context, whether that is dealing with our clients or with our banking partners, whether it is dealing with someone internal, a peer, colleague up or colleague down, whatever it may be, I think that has really been really important. And empathy, I think, can only really grow in an environment where people are very honest. And so we try, and obviously sometimes we fail, both with ourselves and with others, but we really do try to be very, very straightforward about what we are doing, when people can expect something, what we're doing about a problem as much as what we're doing about the next really exciting feature, and always thinking, well, if we were them, whoever they are here, said anything from a regulator to a client, what would we think of as a really exciting, precise answer? And if you get a group of people who find it easy to relate to other people, then generally.
Absolutely. Now, you've also seen this 18x growth in a period where most of your team will have been working remotely. What have you had to adjust in order to deliver that kind of outcome? Because an 18x growth, in revenue and in customers also would equate, I would assume, to a fairly significant uplift in output from all of your people as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it really mattered that the team was all but complete in a temporary sense when we went into lockdown. So we went on quite a hiring spree early 2020, not knowing, of course, that we were about to go into lockdown. And I think we doubled the team or something between essentially last Intersect and the lockdown. So in those 4 or 5 months, whatever that was. And we filled lots of new types of roles. So functions within the team that we didn't previously have, we weren't, I guess, really needing at that point. We managed to find some excellent people, many of whom are people that you still see around and who are with us and building what is today Monoova. And so having had actually the physical experience together for at least a few days, I think the last person to join us pre-COVID joined us 5-6 days before lockdown happened. I think that was really important to start with, because then we were truly never with each other in person for 3 and a bit months. So by June or something, we started seeing each other again, very tentatively to start with, actually mostly on like a one-on-one type basis. See if we could travel to each other's parts of town here in Sydney and have lunch together, probably talk work, but at least get the social interaction going. But then we sort of phased out of working from home, but not actually in not in an intentional, directed way. It was more that we, maybe because we do like spending time with each other, we sort of started feeling it was really cool in the beginning to work from home. And obviously the novelty factor was actually bigger than I thought. To be honest, I thought I would hate working from home. And within a few days, I was quite comfortable working from home. But then again, they wore off. And by the time we got to August or so, I'd say most people were in the office at least once a week, without being told you had to or anything. And then by September, we were definitely more than once a week. Most people at that point was probably in most days, I think. And by now, we're still a mixed setup. People can work from home. People can work from here. I think what happened, and to maybe answer your question more specifically, how do you grow like that if you're working remotely? We had to innovate in the way that everyone had to when lockdown happened, in terms of how do we create whole marks in a day to at least mark when the day starts and when the day ends, and to just go to the basics. How do we make sure that conversations that would happen naturally and intuitively in an office are at least mimicked when we're working remotely? But I think the thing that was really important to us was the fact that we had some really good people to start with. We didn't really have to hire that much during lockdown. We started hiring again as soon as we came out of it. And the fact that we really want to do this. It's work, of course it is. And there are lots of things that work bring about that maybe we don't long for every day, but it's way more than that. This is something that we love doing. And I feel I can speak for everyone in the team that it's really exciting to be part of this kind of story. It's the kind of thing where part of, actually, I should say, empathy is one thing. Another thing that I'm looking for when people are joining is, do they have at least an ounce of a sentiment, which is that one day I want to tell my grandchildren about the fact that I was at Monoova when it all began. If you don't have that at all, I don't mean that it has to be don't have to be wax lyrical the first day. You don't have to be totally evangelized in your interview process. But if I can't see that this will matter to you at least at some level, probably again it might not be quite the right fit.
Yeah. So when you look back over this last 12 months, what would you say you're most proud of that you and the team have achieved together at Monoova?
I'm most proud of, me personally, I'm most proud of what the team has done. The fact that we have come through this year, which certainly started with a lot of uncertainty, and people were wondering, what businesses are still going to be standing, which are not. Are we ever going to be shaking hands with anyone again? And so on. It's easy to forget that that's actually only 12 months ago. But that we stuck together and we kept working together, trying to find out ways to solve problems that didn't go away just because we were all in lockdown. The problems that we were solving in terms of payment flows being complicated and slow and cumbersome and all the rest of it, that didn't disappear. If anything, COVID showed that having a digital presence is sometimes the difference between staying alive and not staying alive. And so there was an enormous surge in digital payments overall, which meant that behind the scenes, someone like us became even more relevant. So understanding that here was a big role for us to play, and that the market, if anything, needed us maybe even more than we had initially thought, that was important. We're also very, very proud of bringing on some of the exciting clients that have come on, and I'm not entirely free to name them all, but there have been some really exciting, pioneering businesses. I mentioned some of them earlier, of course, like Instagram, for instance, is someone who came on in the last 12 months. Banjo and Jacaranda are other ones. These are all businesses that we are very, very proud to be serving, and who are doing some very exciting things in their own different fields, and being part of that and being trusted to be a partner in their story. That is something that that's sort of the reason we're here.
Cool. Well, and finally, this is the People's Choice Award. So if people are listening, why should they vote for Monoova?
You should vote for Monoova because of our sincere belonging with the fintech community and our ability to service that community with the kind of payment rails that they need. You should also vote for us because when things don't go exactly as we want or as our clients want, we're there with our clients. We never ever for 1 second don't take responsibility. We are working hand in hand and creating real partnerships. And the kind of people who are voting, also the kind of people that we generally work with. We think that there is a lot more to come in the fintech space. We think we're going to be playing a large role in that. Again, the pay-to transactions are coming. That's going to be super exciting. I think that's going to mean another revolution in payments, at least as big as the real-time one. And we have a role to play there that together with our fintech community members, it's going to, I think, really change what an everyday in Australia is going to look like.
Well, Christian, we wish you and the team at Monoova all the best in the awards and all the other categories that you're in. Congrats on a fantastic achievement in the last 12 months, regardless of the outcome of the awards. I think it's just testament to you and the team, what you've achieved this year. Well done.
Thank you very much, Dexter. And thank you. I mean, you have achieved quite a few things yourself, but we'll talk about that some other time.
Fintech Organization of the Year Award is sponsored by Vocus. Thank you, Vocus, for your support in making the Finnies a reality. We look forward to seeing everyone on the 9th of June in Melbourne. And don't forget to make your vote in the People's Choice Awards.